My name is David Pryor, VCE 1987, and I'm the current owner of the Bladnoch Distillery, which is a 200-year-old single malt distillery based down in the south of Scotland. It's funny, the friends that I made at Haileybury in the first 2 weeks have been my lifelong friends. You know, at that point when you're 15, 16, as much as anything else, as much as sport or as much as studying, those bonds that you build as a teenage boy were life-changing. My primary source of inspiration, definitely to start with, was my father. My family had a packaging business at the time which they'd started. My folks came out from India at the end of the 60s and, you know, typical immigrant story, worked incredibly hard and took risks and started this packaging business, and I was always going to join the family business, but Dad said, you've got to do uni, I'm not going to employ you otherwise, so that was sort of the minimum requirement, was to get a degree, and I didn't really commit myself to studying until I did my MBA, which is when I realised, I mean, if you don't study in an environment like that, you're just never going to get through. And I mean, I was very lucky. My father was a great mentor, and he's a beautiful man, and he's a beautiful businessman. He does business in a very ethical and straight way. From a young age, and my father and I talk about it now, he often says he used to do the funniest things, like I used to try and, you know, sell him something from inside the house or something just to show, and he used to tease me about my salesmanship skills or whatever. So pretty sort of funny stuff that looking back you think, well, I suppose that's just something, the way you are. And so it was always an attraction for me to become a businessman, I suppose. I came up with the name 5am Yogurt, sitting on my surfboard at Currumbinally up on the Gold Coast one morning at 5am, and just reflecting on what a magical time of the day it is, and the connection between those type of people, early morning people, and I just felt there was a niche in organic foods through the majors, so I was able to arrange to see the guys at Woolies and just, you know, sold them the idea that we were going to bring this organic yogurt to the market, and based on a handshake I built a yogurt factory, and within its first 2 years it became the largest selling organic product in Australia, and we had a great journey with it. The first couple of years were nothing short of horrific. Halfway through building the plant we ran out of money. So you've got a half-built yogurt plant, no product, no brand, all your money gone, and that money was Sally and my home in North Caulfield, which we'd mortgaged to put the money into the business, and that's how quickly we were chewing through money. As we tried to run these opening orders, the fermenter was breaking down, the pasteuriser broke down, the homogeniser broke down, the packing line complete. So and it was a fight for survival, it literally was, because we had missed one delivery date with Woolworths, and if we'd missed the second slot, we would have been out. You only get 2 slots a year. So if we'd missed the second slot, they just would have had to say, guys, thanks for trying, but you're no good to us, which I understood. Of the 20,000 cartons that we had to make, we'd made 46 or something. I've got a photo of it. I'd actually driven home that night at 5 in the morning, and it was all over. And I said to Sally, it's all over. And she gave me a kiss and she said, I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of what you've done and for almost getting there and for trying. There's times in your life when you need something like that, unequivocal support to get you to the next phase. Because what happened? I went to sleep, I got up, I went for a swim, and I went back down and we hand-packed the remainder of the order and we got out there. But if that had gone the other way and I'd got home and I'd said, darling, it's all over, and Sally had said, you bloody idiot, you've just lost $4 million. Well, you know what? I would have lost $4 million, and we would have owed $4 million, and the whole thing would have come down on that Thursday night. So there's little moments in life like that where you just need unequivocal support and friendship and love and all those things, and I've been lucky to have them. So I'd settled on Scotch whisky a year before we decided to take 5am to the market. I had decided to buy a distillery, which of course in my naivety I thought you could just rock up to Scotland and buy a distillery, but I soon found out just how difficult that was. And suddenly, after about now 6 months in, I realised, okay, this is a serious undertaking. I mean, number one, you got a 2-year period and probably £15 million to build the distillery. And at the end of that, you've got nothing. You've now got to lay down stock 3 years before you have even just something you can legally call scotch. But realistically, 7 to 10 years before you have something that you could sell, at a decent price in the marketplace. So I was like, okay, well, this is going to be it's a long journey now, but I was still up for it. I was aware of this Bladnoch thing bubbling away in the background. It had been these Northern Irish brothers that were running it had a big falling out, so there's a court-appointed receiver. Ernst & Young in London ran a process. There was 120 interested parties. I think they took 6 through to putting bids on the business, and it got sold to an Indian guy. And I was in Scotland signing off on the building for the land, and costs were already blowing out, and I must admit I was thinking, bloody hell, I've got my hands full on this one. And the deal got rejected, the Bladnoch deal. So I said, right, we absolutely 100% have to buy it. There's just no question. And I went for my interview with the UK government and somehow managed to convince them that I'd be a good owner of one of their national assets. And that was the journey to get into the whisky business. The amazing thing about Bladnoch Distillery is that I fell in love with the place and the buildings and the land and the river more than the business. It's just such a beautiful, been there since 1817, and there's such a sense of history and such a sense of occasion about the business and this distillery, which has had such an incredible past, that I actually feel just honoured to be the new owner. We've got a hell of a lot of work to do to build that and to make that into another successful business and brand, but it is a true honour just to own something of that significance. So it's a wonderful asset.